Hello and welcome to another Redbex training video. In this video we're going to talk about the term data domain. Data domain is a really central and very important term in Redbex, and as it is a really quite of abstract term, I will not start to give you a kind of a definition of what is a data domain. You can look this up in your reference manual, but I will show you first what actually is the problem we're facing on and what is the problem we tried to solve with the concept of the data domain. Let's have a look to our interface. I just opened a few document windows for you, and on this document windows I would like to show you what actually is the problem. As we store observation data in Redbex in features, we have also to have the possibility to store some metadata, which is about the observations and about features itself. For example, if we look about a feature which is the groundwater level feature, then for example in the extended data of this feature we have the possibility to save the aquifer type. So somewhere we have to have the possibility to define which options are available and at this position, and if aquifer type is quite clear that we have these two options and we could just define them to be used all over the software. If we switch over, for example, to the geologist's heading phase documentation, then we will see, for example, the advanced type. Well, we also could define all of them, but it would of course, be more handy if we just define the advanced types which are actually used in this project where we use this feature type. So again, we have to have a possibility to define which options will be available at defining these observations. Or for example, we can set up some rules which define that 5 is out of the scope, is not a valid value for the round lengths, but 3 is, and 2 is also, but 0 again is not a valid value for entering a round length. So where to define these rules, as there will be, of course, very much depending on the needs of the project. So different projects have to have the possibility to set up different rules for the round legs, for example. And if it comes to defining, for example, in the geologist heading phase documentation, who did this documentation? So defining in Redbex, we also call the geologist, in this case the sensor, because actually the geologist is the unit which delivers the data for the observation, and so we can define who was actually out there in the field and gathering the data. So by defining this list of geologists, we are very much at the project, which so every project have to have its own list, of course, because every project will have different geologists to work on. So again, we have the problem where to store this list of available geologists we can use to define the actual geologist for these observations. And if we go deeper to create features, for example, if we create in situ water characteristics feature, then maybe we would like to have some feature subtypes available to define which situation is the one which we use this feature type in. And this list of feature subtypes will also, of course, differ from one project to another. At least we should have the possibility to define which feature subtypes we would like to use. More, of course, if you think of general purpose feature types, you then can define subtypes and define in this way for which purpose you would like to use the feature type. And again, if you think about attachment tags, which can be used to define which type of attachment we're just using and uploading to the system, these attachment tags, for example, here for the feature type meteorological situation, they of course also could and will change from one project to another. Next, if you think about geometries, if you think about axis, for example, one project will have need to define axis and will work on the basis of axis, and the other won't make use of axis geometries. So here again we have the problem that we need some point in the software where we can define these type of data. And also, if you think about presentation templates, we build up some templates for charting, we build up some templates for maps, etc., for reports. Then these templates, of course, might be different from one project to another, and there will be, if you think about titling the templates, giving some text, then we have to have the possibility to create templates based on project. But on the other hand, much or most of these options and settings we just have seen, there could also be the possibility that they will be the same on two projects, or at least on a specific type of projects. So all projects which deals about geology might use the same axis, and all projects in the same region about environmental might use the same aquifer types. So we have to find a more flexible way to store this kind of data than just creating projects as an point to save this data to. So to have just a list of projects and create this data according to the projects is maybe not flexible enough and not handy enough. So the guys of Redbex decided to do it in a different way, and they invented the term which is called the data domain. And the data domain is now the place where all these definitions we've seen now goes to, and where all these definitions will be stored at. And the data domain has not only a structure of being a list of different data domains, so you can store different types of lists for different types of projects, but also this data domain is structured in a hierarchical way and allows to pass by the definitions from one level to another. So just let me show you where you find this window to manage the data domains. It's in the common ribbon. The first button is called Data Domain Explorer, and if you press this button, you will be provided with the window of the Data Domain Explorer. Now let's talk about this Data Domain Explorer. You will find in the upper part of this window the data domain itself. So there has to be a root data domain, which is always created if you get a new freshly installed system. Then you will find the root data domain, and then you can build up a structure as you would like, as you think it will be useful for your type of projects you would like to manage with the system, and can create some child data domain. Let's have a little look to the reference manual. There you will find in the chapter application server, in the subchapter chapter, there is a structure. You will find a chapter about data domains, and there also you can see how the data domains can be structured. So there is a root data domain, and then you can define some child data domain and build up a tree structure as just as you would like to. The interesting part of this is that whatever you define at the root data domains and setting will be also available at some other data domain in the child data domain. So the settings are passed by the child to the child data domains, and so you can make some more general definitions in the parent nodes of this data domain structure, and they can be used in all of the projects which are defined by the child data domains. And so you have different levels of defining different definitions by these data domains. So if we create a feature, then we also have to tell the feature which has to be created which data domain is the one it is linked to, because of course this feature relies on every definition which is be done in this data domain. So it is very central that every feature creation is done to a specific root, specific data domain. In this case, the new feature will be created within the root data domain. So every feature is a member of exactly one data domain, and very important to know, this relation cannot be changed afterwards, because the feature is based to the definitions which are done to this data domain, and it's not an easy job to check if this all these definitions are also available in a different data domain. Usually they will not be available, and so the feature can't just be switched from one data domain to another. Let's have a quick look about everything about the different specifications you can make in a data domain. If you click one data domain, you will see beyond this list, beyond the data domain itself, a list of possible kind of different types of data which can be specified. In the first tree, you get all the feature types which are available in the Redbex system, and you can make settings for each feature type of this data domain, which means whatever you define on this feature type will be a setting which is valid for all the features which are created for this root data domain. If you build up some child data domains, then you also can make the settings for one of the child data domain, and then again whatever you set, for example, for the rock mass rating feature type here, will be valid for the features which are created by using a link to the tunneling project's data domain. So this kind of grouping of features for which we make some settings we call the data domain context. So the data domain context is based up to 3 levels. Whatever you define here is according to every features which have been created in the data domain you're doing this settings on, and then again has been a relation to the feature type, of course, and if you use also, you can make the settings for the feature subtypes, which if you created some. So for the feature type, you have the possibility to define attachment tags, which will be used for the feature of this type in the selected data domain. You can also make use of feature subtypes. They will be also available for all the features which are created in this data domain, but also every feature which will be created if one of the child data domains, if there exists on this position. Also sensor types, we have seen them before on the geological heading phase documentation window. Sensor types like geologists, as we see them in Redbex, can be defined also here for a data domain. So if you use a data domain to specify the settings for one project, you can set up 2 different data domains, or as many data domains as you need, and define different lists of sensors for the different data domains, and so for the different groups of features which will be created in these data domains. You also could use the data domain to define some settings for the properties of the extended data of the feature itself, or of the observations extended data. Therefore you just press the right mouse key on the feature type you would like to work on, and then you select menu entry property structure context, and there these 2 definitions, these 2 menu entries added the feature property structure configuration or the observation property structure configuration gives you the possibility to set up rules or validation rules or other settings for the properties. Let me show you this on the geological heading phase documentation. As we have many properties here, I open the property structure context and then choose to edit the observation property structure context, and then you will be provided with the whole property structure of this observation for this feature type geological heading phase documentation. And then you see you have the possibility, for example, for the round lengths to set up a default value, to set up some validation rules, the values being valid between 0 and 3. For example, in this case, you can set the property to be mandatory, so this property has to be filled out. You can change the display name for this property if you don't like the one which is delivered with Redbex in a standard version, and you also can add some visual appearance for this property, which is used if you use the property value in some presentation like charting or reports, whatever. Also, one of the interesting things you can do with properties, you can give them a sequence number, so you can change the order of the properties, how they are displayed in your user interface, and you can even hide the property if you don't use the property in your projects. You just switch them out, and the specialists don't have to see and to handle with this property, which is not used in this very specific project you define the data domain for. But we have only different kinds of data which can be defined by using a data domain. We have seen before also the axis is of this kind of data, which has to be defined for at least a specific group of projects, so for one project only. So this gives you the possibility to set up a data domain and only set up features there which rely on this axis you defined for this data domain. For example, again, this geological heading phase documentation, of course, also always has to rely on a specific axis which has to be defined. So the offset, which is here entered as partial data, is in relation to one axis, and we can see here on this information info bar the axis reference system which is used for this feature is called drive, and is done on the axis which is called simple axis. So if we just open the axis section for the data domain, then we will find here the simple axis, and the simple axis has been assigned axis reference system which is called drive in this case for an example. Next, also the cross sections, interesting for tunneling projects. Of course, you can define cross sections, different types of cross sections, and assign them to different sections of your axis, and so you can just build up a very appropriate geometry which gives the geometry of the tunnel. So you can work on the cross sections, for example, to make your heading phase drawings, to make some presentation using the cross section at the place where you see the measurement points. So this is also a type of data which has to be defined for a data domain. And then, of course, the classification types. This is again something which has to be defined in a proper way for different projects. Classification types now means which possibilities does the user have to specify these drop-down properties here. Like here we have the possibility like TBM advanced type or tunneling excavator advanced type. These possibilities have to be defined in some way, and this is done by the classification types. Here we have some special thing to tell, because the classification types of course could be used in different features. The classification type structure does not necessarily follow the feature type structure. And so, for example, you have some geological classification types, and they could be used in different features. So you have to look for the appropriate classification you would like to edit to give the possibilities to the users to choose of the options you have defined there. Then we have approval templates. We will do this in a later video also, and also the feature creation templates, which is a template you can save for all the settings you're doing in the create feature window. You don't have to do the settings every time. If you create the same type of features very often and at more points in time, then you can just define this create feature definition once and save it, and this also is saved to a data domain which this feature would be created to, so you can recall it here at a later time. One thing which is also interesting is that you can define for every data domain which feature types are available for this data domain. For example, if we open here the tunneling projects data domain, which would be the idea to set up a data domain where tunneling projects features will be created, then you will see if I create here a feature for this project, for this tunneling project's data domain, then you see only a subset of features which are general available in Redbex are available in this create feature dialog, which gives the possibility to the manager of these tunneling projects to be more efficient and just has all the feature types available which he actually needs. If we do the same for the environmental projects data domain, then you see here we have different types of feature types available, and this selection you can build up by just using the context menu of the data domain, and then here you have the entry available feature types, and this gives you the list of all feature types which are available in Redbex, and then you see here some are checked and the others are not checked, and so you should just select define a subset of feature types which you would like to be available for features created in this specific data domain. As I told you before, a feature always has to have a link to one specific data domain. The data domains have also a different meaning than only providing this kind of data where the feature will rely on. So providing this biotop or can also be used to separate the content in the in Redbex, because every feature you will find in one data domain, and you could build up some view which gives you all the features which are created in one data domain. So this, on the other hand, it is then also a way to structure the features, to group the features, and this again is a hint of to the term of the data domain context, because whatever group you make up using the data domains, this is then the data domain context the feature is in. One more setting you can do at a data domain, which I would like to show you. You can see here two of these data domains here are colored in this kind of brown yellow color, and one of them is colored in blue. So the difference between those data domains is that this data domain is selected to be a so-called identity data domain, and the other one isn't. I can switch this by using the context menu and clicking the entry is identity data domain, and this does the following. If you select a data domain to be an identity data domain, then the Redbex makes sure that every feature which is created within this data domain is having a unique feature name. So if you create a new feature, just let's do it within this data domain, and I use the distance feature. Then now this feature type is created, and if I try to do the same again in the same data domain, then I will get an error that this feature is not able to be created because there is already a feature created in this data domain which is having the name distance 01. If I change the name to 02, then I will be able to create this feature. This is very important if you plan to import observation data from by importing files, and do this by schedule in an automatic way, because then this import functionality of Redbex has to be sure to be able to identify one feature just by the name. If this would not be able, then the import functionality would just take any of these features which having the same name, and then you never could be sure that the imported data will be on one specific feature. On the other hand, if you're having let's switch the identity data domain off again. If you're having environmental projects where you plan to have features, for example, on different houses, then it could be likely that you have a measurement point which is called 001 on two different houses, and if you decide um, to to select which feature you would like to have to by using different views, so you as a user of the system can be sure to always have the same feature, then it's up to you to define features which having the same name in the same database. And you see here it is possible to have two different features which the same name. If we open them, then we will see that these two features having a different ID. So they actually are two different features, but the feature name is not unique in this case. So again, if I try to set this data domain now as an identity data domain, this will not be possible because I have two features having the same name, and this is against the rules of having unique feature names. This now was very much information about data domains. As the data domain gives you a very big flexibility about structuring your projects, and does not necessarily have the same structure than your projects have, you should give a special thought before you plan your data domain structure. And I suggest you to have a look to our reference manual to the chapter of data domains. There you will find a lot of information concerning data domains, and also some considerations for structuring the data domains and information about features in data domains. Take some time and have a look to our reference manual.